Well, I don't know about y'all, but I come for the music. And if she's just getting her master's, I've known that you've been a master at your music for many years, many years. Well, namaste, friends. It's always good to be back here with you. Who's your decorator? No, I haven't done the inside of this. Hopefully the top side looks a little different. I watched Reverend Bonnie's message this last Thursday. It was posted, and her title was "The Sky is Falling, Healing Through Gratitude." And as most of you all know, I'm a commercial roofer, I own a commercial roofing company, and let me let you in on my title for this week. It's "The Sky is Falling, and It's Not My Fault." You know, one would think that a roofer would be ecstatic when it rains or when there's a hailstorm, but I just don't. I don't respond that way. See, I was raised by a very loving and a very strict father who is an exception generator. And an exception generator is somebody that can look at something and find the fault in anything, find the bad in it. And it's not all bad, because when you think about it, it's good if you're an attorney, it's good if you're a roofer. You know, you need to be able to look at things and say, we need to fix that, we need to fix that, we need to do that. So it's not all bad. But because of that, I kind of was hardwired in a certain way of looking at the world. And it's not the way that my dad did. But I'm very grateful that he taught me that. It also reminds me that there's only two motivators in life, pain or pleasure. We're either moving towards pleasure or away from pain. You know, I have never wanted to be perfect at anything, and nobody's ever accused me of being anywhere near perfect on anything. But because of the fear of being disciplined as a child, my primary motivation is to move away from pain, to not mess up. So when I just wanted to share that with you all, because what I'm going to talk about today is to remind you how these past hurts can still affect us in the present day. When it rains, our phone starts to ring off the hook, and we get lots of phone calls. And the phone call sounds something like this. "Hi, Bram. It's so-and-so. A tenant called, and we've got a leak at one of our facilities. Would you please go out and check it out? They said it was leaking in the office. Thanks so much. Please let us know what you find." That's what it sounds like. But this is what I hear. "Hi, Bram, the roof's leaking again. You sorry you-know-what. I can't believe that thing's leaking. It is totally your fault. You better get out there and fix it, and it better never happen again. Do you understand?" Welcome to the twisted world of my thought process every once in a while. That stuff's hardwired, folks. Those are the memes that I talked about a few different times. Wayne Dyer, you know, the self-limiting belief things. That's just hardwired, and it takes a whole lot of reframes to get that cleaned up. So I've been working on that. A good friend of mine is an orthopedic surgeon, and he's a pediatric surgeon as well. And I was telling him about this about 8 years ago when I started working for Dad and doing the roofing and stuff again. And he said, "Bram, who died and made you king? What makes you think that you're supposed to get all this right?" He said, "Do you think that I cause children to break bones and things like that?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, Doc, no way. I never thought of it." He said, "You have been given a gift. Use it." Just like he'd been given a gift to help people. He said, "You didn't cause the hailstorm. You're nowhere near that important." He said, "Just fix it and shut up and move on." So from Fabens to Las Cruces in the month of October, there were 4 hailstorms and over 2.5 inches of rain over the normal amount of rainfall. You know, so the other thing that it bounces between my ears is I don't like to let people down. And it rarely rains in the desert, you all may have noticed. So when it finally does, the phone rings off the hook and everybody wants it done immediately. Well, we don't have a huge company, so we can't fix everything immediately, and I don't like letting people down. You know, we'll get to it just as quickly as we can. So imagine how I felt when Reverend Bonnie called and said, "The sky is falling and it's raining in the sanctuary." So I mean, this is home to me. So I immediately pulled a few guys off of another crew that we had and had them come up here right away and do as much temporary patching as we could do. Even with all that, though, and a great insurance company and a great insurance adjuster, it took about 3 weeks for everybody to decide on who, what, when, where, why, so we could get up here and take care of this. So we were able to take care of it. It should have taken about 4 days, and the way the weather works and everything else, it took 2 weeks. But yeah, you're probably wondering, where's the gratitude part? So let me share with you a couple of the things that I am grateful for. I'm grateful that I own a roofing company and that we can be of service. I'm grateful that I have great people that I work with that are conscientious and know what they're doing. Unless it leaks, then don't call me. No, wait for a good rain or two to come through and then let me know if we see anything else, and we'll make sure that it's good to go. I'm grateful for this center, for the board, for the financial responsibility, for the fiscal responsibility that we've paid our insurance premiums so that we could get a new roof. I'm grateful for the fact that I was able to put back better materials than what were up there before, and that they're going to last a very long time. I'm grateful that we were able to remove all of the old roofing, all of the old air conditioners that were dated back to the 40s. Removed all the bad decking. And there were a million nails in this thing. It took forever to get the roof off that other side over there. So I'm very, very grateful for that. Removing all the old negative energy, anything that would have been associated with all that, it's all gone. We've got a clean start. Now, part of today's talk is about being grateful in advance. So I've been very grateful that even with all this work and everything else, that even though I could not get up here to check on Reverend Bonnie's house or Peggy Shin's house, that they will forgive me. So I'm putting that out to the universe because they're both very loving and wonderful individuals, and we usually don't do any residential work, but even if I could and I would for them, we've just been swamped with work. So I'm looking forward to receiving that pardon from Reverend Bonnie next time I see her. But I have to tell you, in watching her talk from last Sunday, she can do things I would never even imagine getting away with. Remember last Sunday when she said, hey everybody, let's pick a word that we're grateful for, and let's go from A to Z. And let's go. And if I did something like that, it'd be like a little dirty Johnny joke. Somebody sitting in the back going, ooh, assignment or something. I could never get away with that. There'd be a newcomer, somebody sitting in the back just zinging me with stuff. So I'm glad that she is able to pull that stuff off, because I didn't think I could. I believe that gratitude heals our past, but it also creates our future. It was last August that August a year ago, I was kind of looking around at my dad and the guys at the office, and we didn't have any work. I didn't have anything on the books. It'd been a while since we'd done some work. I'm thinking, what is going on? And so I could get real caught up in that fear, ruminate on it, things like that. But instead, I just continued to give thanks. Thank you, Spirit, that the right projects are coming. Thank you that this is working. And from September to this past September, we created the most prolific 12 months our company has ever had. But it took me keeping my mind right. You know, instead of the fear and everything, what now, why me, how's this going to happen, just giving thanks that it would happen. And it's been just an unbelievable year. But I had to stay focused on my meditation. I had to stay focused on how I was praying. And Reverend Bonnie talked about that last week, not having the beggar's mentality. I call it the 3-year-old in the cereal aisle at the grocery store. Mommy, can I have this? Mommy, can I have this? Mommy, can I have this? I mean, we ask once, and then we just give thanks for it. And the more I study this stuff, we don't even have to ask once. Spirit knows what our heart's desire is. We can ask, though, just once, and then just give thanks that it's coming. Have the feeling that it's coming. I think that's probably even more important. It's the proper prayer. You know, I'm a big fan of Abraham Hicks in quoting that. And I believe that, you know, as we all do, what we think is what we send out to the universe. Thoughts held in kind produce of their kind, things like that. So whatever we send out is what we're going to be coming back. But think about it. If you have your heart's desire, which creates a feeling, which creates the thought that we send out through our broadcast tower right here, is what comes back to us. And I think that's the most important thing. So to be grateful, realizing that it will come to pass. And I'm going to mess with Edie here for a minute because she asked me how things were going. Earlier I said, great. She said, what's new? I said, well, Baylor turned 16 about a week or two ago, got his driver's license. And she said, oh, aren't you worried that he's driving? I'm like, come on, Edie. You know, not on Sunday, not in church. Let's just pretend that we understand some of these principles. And I'm like, absolutely not. I wrap him in light and love, and he's going to be fine. And you know what? I no longer have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and drive his happy tail to swim practice. I begged him not to go into swimming. I said, keep playing basketball. I said, swimming's not a way of sport, it's a way of life. And thank God he didn't listen to me, because he's one of the best swimmers on the team, but now he can drive himself at 5:30 in the morning to practice. And yes, it's dangerous, and yes, it's all those different things, and I want to see it how I want it to be. And even though I can't control everything, I know that he is blessed, and he is protected, and he's surrounded by light. So thanks for letting me mess with you a little bit there. So we finished up all these huge projects from the last 12 months at the end of August. And once again, I start looking around, where's the next project going to come from? Even had a couple of guys that decided, well, they needed to go find something else to do. Immediately I went back. I knew that Source would provide. But it's a muscle that has to be exercised, just like anything else. I had to have the faith that everything would be fine. I had to see it how I wanted it to be. As I tell you, I'll only think about what you want to create more of. So apparently I created 4 hailstorms and a bunch of rain. I don't know. But like I said, I was just being grateful in advance that this stuff would happen. My dad was even laughing. He said, Mijo, just relax. Don't get so upset. It'll all work out. So back in July, this gentleman came into our building. We have a manufacturing company where we sell roof coatings and things like that, and then we have the contracting business. Well, this gentleman came in, and he started asking a whole bunch of questions. Nobody else was there to help him out. And thank you, God, that I was polite. Thank you, God, that I was calm and answered all of his questions, because it was about his house. And we don't do residential work, but we'll sell to anybody that comes in. 30 minutes of on and on and on about the most minutiae and the details and all this stuff. And again, thank you, God, that I was polite and helpful, because he walked back in at the end of August and said, hey, I just had hail damage on one of my apartment complexes. Would you please re-roof it? And it was like manna from heaven. 70,000 square foot apartment complex. I've checked you guys out. Here's the contract. Have at it. Wow. I mean, out of the blue. From one of the hailstorms, we had another client who's out of town that called and said, hey, we've had a bunch of hail damage to a number of our properties, and the insurance company will not let our maintenance guy do the work. They want you to do the work. We have to contract with you. Now, this is a client that we've had probably the last 7 years that I've been working for Dad. And normally what happens is I'll get a phone call, hey, would you go out and do this exhaustive inspection and tell us everything that needs to be done, and then we're going to let our maintenance man do it. And so that's not a whole lot of fun for me, but just every once in a while, we'll get a small job to do here and there, and thank goodness I've kept my mind mostly right. I can't say right all the time, but mostly right about this kind of stuff. And so I met with their insurance adjuster, and now not only had we been able to get these jobs over the last 7 years, they would have been small and fairly insignificant. Now they're complete replacements, and the insurance company wants it done right, the client wants it done right, and it's just perfect how it all has worked out. I could not have orchestrated that, but I did have a process in it by keeping my mind right and being grateful that these things could come to pass. We will be working on so much work for these hailstorms. We'll be busy through the end of next year. I could tell you story after story of the phone calls I've received over the last 3 weeks that's going to keep us busy. So again, I could have stayed stuck in the, gosh, I don't know what's going to happen, and I could give it all that energy. Transfer that into any area of your life, whether it's a health scare or a spouse that's leaving or a child that's not doing well in school, wherever we give our energy. I mean, I think it's certainly our responsibility to at least do our part. Now, I saw this lovely young lady at church last week, and y'all said, Bram, you went to church? Yes, I actually went to church. I went to the Unity Church. There was a great lady, Reverend Ellen Davenport, that was speaking. She's the minister down in Wimberley, Texas. She was a reporter for many years and decided that just wasn't floating her boat completely, so she decided to leave that and became a Unity minister, ran a huge church in Dallas, took some time off to write. And her most recent book that's coming out is Well, let me tell you this part first before I tell you the name of the title. She says that we've all heard, when one door closes, another one opens, right? She says, when one door closes, another opens, but it can be hell in the hallway. So the full skip, the full aspect of the title today is healing through gratitude and hell in the hallway. So the new book is called Hell in the Hallway, Light at the Door. So we've all been in the hallway. In fact, some of us may just live in the hallway. You can get the quick slamming door, which is the phone call that you get that a loved one has unexpectedly passed away, or the slow closing door of realizing a child is going to be going off to college in a couple of years, or somebody struck with Alzheimer's that might be on their slow transition, things like that. But we've all been in the hallway. We might spend hours a day, sometimes years, in self-recriminating and second-guessing. Did I make the right end-of-life decisions for my parents or my spouse? How could I have been so stupid in love? How could I have listened to all those lies? Why didn't I see the layoffs coming at work? How could I have been a better parent? Why didn't I take better care of my health? And some might ask, how could God let this happen? We, of course, create our own hell in the hallway by taking a difficult situation and making it worse with our own thoughts. Before we can begin any spiritual work, I think we have to realize, as she says, where we are. Oh, yep, I'm in the hallway. Okay, what am I going to do now? I start looking for a flashlight real quick. And what Reverend Davenport says, perhaps that flashlight is acceptance, surrender, forgiveness, prayer, and responsibility. These are all steps that we take. Often, though, it's why me? How could this happen? Now, she wishes she didn't have to suggest that we all play a role in our hallways, but everybody in here knows that we do. We co-create. But why is this happening? Being in the hallway is not a mistake, and we're not victims. And I love this part. It says, this idea is not New Age or woo-woo. Ancient wisdom tells us that we are the creators of our experience, that our thoughts attract the people and the ideas that we need at the time. It says, the Buddha said 2,500 years ago, all that we are is the result of what we've thought. The Hebrew Bible says, for as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Jesus said, the measure you give will be the measure you get back. So this is nothing new. This is not new thought. This is not New Age. This has been around for a long time. These sages, this energy is not saying that we are to blame for whatever happens in our lives. They're saying we have more creative power than we've ever imagined to deal with this, and we have to deal with it responsibly and conscientiously. Now, if you can't bear the thought that you're a co-creator or what's going on, she says, please just put the book down for right now. The pain may be too great to deal with, and I respect that. But the advantage of seeing yourself as a creator is that it allows you to find meaning in an unexpected or unexpected experience, I guess. I certainly did not cause the bipolar disease in my ex-wife, yet I certainly had to deal with it, and it made the marriage even more difficult and things. But I didn't create that, but I certainly brought it into my energy. For some reason that maybe I've figured it out, maybe I haven't, I don't know, is that I needed to deal with that energy. I needed to deal with that loss. I needed to deal with all of those different things. And then I just immediately go back to one of the things that I know that works for me, and that's the Ho'oponopono. You know, just by the fact that it's merely shown up in your experience that we're the co-creators. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. That's cleansing. You know, you don't even have to be around the people, but that's just cleansing. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. But she says, what if we shift the question, asking why me, or refusing to consider the good that might come from this pain? It's the only time I've read a book where I've seen something really dirty that my mom has told me or taught me. She calls them AFGOs. Another fun growth opportunity. Use any F you want, but she says they're called AFGOs. They're growth opportunities. This is what we signed up for. Whether we co-created it or whether the soul decided before it got here, this is something I need on my life path. So we're either victims or we're going to be a volunteer for this energy and decide what we want. But if somehow we could just change this from why is this happening to me to reminding ourselves, why is this happening for me? What good can I get from this? Why did my soul choose this lesson? You know, it's like going back to school and starting a new career. We do need a new level of understanding. We've got to have new tools to get us to that part. Whatever we're going through, she says, is fulfilling our deepest desires for growth and learning. She says, everything will be okay in the end, because if it's not okay, it's not the end. And I think that makes a whole lot of sense. I spoke on August 16th, and up here. That afternoon, I went to lunch with a friend, and we were strolling along the plaza, and I got a phone call from my dad, and one of our closest family friends had had a stroke. And so cut lunch, cut everything short, went immediately to the hospital, and stayed there with the family the rest of the afternoon, did a bunch of pranic healing, did some energy work, prayed with him, just was there for him. And he's been in and out of the hospital into rehab for the last, it's almost been 2 months. And so I got that phone call this morning that he made his transition. And it just, it makes me so sad. Not so much for him, but for his family, you know, the folks that are still here. He fought for a long time, for the last 2 months anyway. And I think it was a slamming door 2 months ago. It was a slower door today. Certainly bless him where he is, knowing he's in a much better place. But just thinking about how special he was, and I don't believe that he's gone because his energy's still here. I can still remember him. You know, from the antithesis of me being a redheaded Leo, I don't know, he's known me for 40 years. I don't know that I've ever seen Paul upset. Literally, I don't think I've ever seen him past a 3 or a 4 on the 10 anger scale. He's just as easygoing, and that's not what killed him either. I think it's important to know there's some folks that are super calm, and that energy is what will end up eating them up, which is what cancer is. It's dis-ease, it's out of harmony. It's just a beautiful light in a beautiful soul. I just wanted to put that out there, and so do me a favor and bless Paul's family. Surrender is one of the most powerful tools that Reverend Davenport talks about. Surrender means giving up the stubborn belief that life should be fair or make sense in any given moment. And when we realize this and we surrender, we get these tools. We get the flashlight for the acceptance, forgiveness, humility, service, willingness, and courage to go through this. She also talks about forgiveness. Forgiveness is to stop insisting on what ought to have been. Stop making up stories about our life the way it should have been. The Greek word for forgive means to untie the knot. So once we untangle this from our past, we're free to move forward. But see, the pain is in the resistance. The pain is thinking it should have been different. The worst suffering is the result of thinking that things should be different and that it shouldn't have happened, that it isn't fair. But it's those judgments that make the pain so much more difficult. So allow me to close with a couple of what Reverend Davenport calls the 2 most dangerous prayers that she knows. The first one is reveal what needs to be revealed and heal what needs to be healed. Reveal what needs to be revealed and heal what needs to be healed. That was just like I've heard that in the past and it never really stuck. That was just a beautiful thing and the light bulb went off. You'll find that a lot of these things that may have been holding you back, you can release and clear out and cleanse. The second prayer is lead me where you need me and speak to me in ways that I cannot possibly misunderstand. But you better be ready for that one. Are you ready for clear, concise information for the guidance that we're looking for? And to bring it full circle, whatever we ask for in prayer, give thanks in advance. The very first time I stood in this sanctuary, I watched a gentleman who would become my brother, RJ. And he quoted, I think it was Mark chapter 11, verse 24. And it just basically says that it's already done. Believe that it's already done. We got to give thanks. Your good awaits you behind the next door as you begin to move out of the hallway. And remember, the hallway is part of the life. lean into the pain. There are lessons to learn from it. And also realize that eventually this too shall pass. The door will open. And things always do get better. Namaste, and thank you so much.